able towards the Chartered PR Practitioner status. So today we're going to be starting our Doing PR in series for the year as part of Africa Communications Week, which is an absolute pleasure. Our Doing PR in series looks at different parts of the world where we are, like also Asia and Caribbean, for example, to follow, where we are looking at different international practices in different countries. And one of the reasons we were keen to do this this session for Africa is to say that Africa is not like a monolith. We have so many countries with different cultures, different ways of working, that today we have the chance to really explore three countries, which will be Angola, Nigeria, and Ghana, in some depth to really understand how those countries are working when it comes to PR. And to help me in this endeavor, I'm delighted to be joined by Nima Mutemi, who's joining us from Kenya. So Nima, thank you very much for joining us today and for being here as our moderator. We'll shortly be introducing the panel. But to introduce yourself, first of all, you're the Global Head of Business Development and Managing Director, Africa at Perspective. And also you're teaching CIPR qualifications at the University of Nairobi. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. So Nima, I'm happy to hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. And yes, it's exciting to have the CIPR International event. I'm very, very excited about today's session, which is part of the Doing PR in. And today we're going to be focusing, as you mentioned, on Africa, 3 African countries, very diverse, very different. We have Angola, Ghana, and Nigeria. And as you mentioned, we do offer CIPR qualification courses. We don't offer them only to Kenya or East Africa from the University of Nairobi, but they're open to anyone who wants a CIPR qualification. If you want to sharpen your skills, we are currently enrolling for the August class. We have the CIPR diploma, we've got the public affairs specialized diploma as well, crisis communication, internal communication, and a lot of other specialized courses. Kindly visit our website at University of Nairobi, CIPR page. You can also request and write, and we'll be sharing those details at the end of the webinar for all who've registered. So without further ado, I'd really like to introduce to us today the 3 exemplary speakers that we have. We've got Mabel from Nigeria. Mabel's full name is, and I hope I'm going to get it correct. Just give me a minute here. I'm having a technology issue. Mabel Aladenusi Adeteye. Mabel, I'm sorry if I have butchered your name. Mabel has more than 13 years of experience working in marketing communication, brand design and management, digital media, events planning and management, corporate social responsibility. She's very well-trained and very qualified to practice in public relations, marketing and communication. She studied, she's accredited by the Public Relations, the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, as well as the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. So she has the MCIPR to her name. And she's also accredited in digital marketing, integrated communication and marketing from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, which is CIM. She studied at the University, Ahmadu Bello University and the Lagos Business School. She also attended the prestigious, Babcock University, where she graduated with a business administration degree. So she is also a member of PRCA, which is the Public Relations and Communications Association. So she's very well qualified, and today she will be giving us a good idea of the Nigerian public relations landscape. The second speaker we have is Samuel Osei from Ghana. He's also a CIPR member with an APR. Samuel is experienced in strategic communication and is a leader in public relations in Ghana, West Africa, driven by his passion for storytelling. He founded Think Stories. I encourage all of you to follow Think Stories on Twitter and social media, where he uses the platform to share knowledge on Africa and tell stories that are not usually common. He's also a manager of communication and external relations at Newmont, Ghana, which is a mining giant in Ghana and also in the region, a subsidiary of the world's leading gold mining business. He leads the development and execution of communication and external relations strategies for the company. He's an accredited member of CIPR, as I mentioned, as well as the Institute of Public Relations in Ghana. Then last but definitely not least, we've got Carolina Barros, who's the CEO of On Time Communication. Carolina is Angolan and has worked for more than 20 years in the field of communication and brand management. She considers herself passionate about the art of communicating and making things happen. She's bilingual. She has to practice in Portuguese and also in English. She graduated in management and marketing from the Independent University of Angola and has a specialization in brand management from Escola Superior de Publicidade e Marketing. I'm very sorry for my pronunciation, which is in Brazil, and a specialization in institutional communication by the Faculty of Sciences at Agostinho Neto University. So my first question is going to go to Samuel. Samuel, you're going to lead this very high-powered panel. And my question is, as a storyteller and lover of stories, we know that most stories told about the African continent do not always shed a positive light on Africa's strengths, the resilience and power of our individual countries and our economies. For instance, last year, the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, we all witnessed a very sad scenario where South Africa, instead of being celebrated for its prowess and leadership in science and research, in discovering the Omicron variant and preparing the world for what was to come as one of the worst waves of the pandemic, was instead punished. So South Africa and Southern African countries were punished with harsh, travel restrictions instead of being celebrated. Right now, Ghana is one of the best untold stories. For instance, with what's going on with the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the aftermath of COVID, where the economies have struggled to regain momentum, we don't hear much about Africa's leader in leading producer in gold, which is Ghana, which has relatively remained very strong in spite of the challenges economically. As a storyteller and using Think Stories, your platform, how can you tell us briefly how you're using this platform to change the narrative on Africa and to paint a more realistic and more positive lens on how African countries like Ghana are perceived?
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much, Nema. And hello to my colleagues, Carolina, Mabel, Samantha, thank you. And everyone on the call. I see a number of my colleagues from Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire on the call. Thank you, everybody. Now, directly to your question, Nema, stories. Now, stories have to be told. Stories have to be preserved, and stories have to be shared. Because what you don't write is not yours. It is said that a short pencil is better than a long memory. But for us in Africa, we have not done a good job preserving our stories and telling our stories. And so you speak about Omicron, the South African Omicron, and the fact that they did not get a credit. The story was taken from South Africa because we did not make it ours. And that's because we did not write it and we did not tell it. And it's been our bane forever. Civilization started with Africa. I read somewhere that even, Pythagoras' theorem, Pythagoras actually didn't develop the theory. It was developed by the African, and et cetera, et cetera. But we did not own it. So I believe, like several others from the Africa Communications Week and, CIPR, that if you come to the space of communication, storytelling is superpower. It is the most powerful for communication form, but research has shown that it is the least used. So I think stories, we are looking at how we can harness the power of storytelling to, change narratives. One, for organizations. So you see that we've done a lot of corporate storytelling stuff. And what is coming up for us is about also the other for transforming the narrative of our continent. And so how do we do this? We do this by enabling conversations such as this. I have something coming up and I can let in the scoop. It's about how we can use, let's say, lessons from the traditional stories of the Yorubas to transform the narrative of Africans. It will blow your mind. And so these are the things. It's about us looking into, stories are narratives that form a perception which leads into action. And these narratives are littered around the continent. So we are gathering them, we are sharing them, and we are, stimulating actions that will let the world know us for who we are. And, so we can take our place in and build influence in the world. I'm sure we'll talk more about this because of time. But one of the things that we are looking at, I know there is a debate about whether we should have our own CNN and our own BBC. Some say no, some say we don't need it. But for us, we believe that whoever controls the media controls the narrative. And so we're also looking at building up Africans to own influential media platforms and drive our narrative the way we want it, just like Al Jazeera have done for the Gulf. So succinctly to put it, that's what we are up to.
Okay, thank you. That's impressive, and we definitely will be following Think Stories.
For sure.
Over to Carolina. Carolina, we appreciate that Angola is still in a state of recovery after a very long civil war that just ended in 2002. And in the process of rebuilding its economy, rebuilding and even creating afresh industries like the public relations industry. What do you think is the most important attribute that public relations brings to an organization that wants to establish itself in the Angolan market or to thrive if it's already in existence? What does an organization really need from a public relations perspective to be able to succeed in the Angolan landscape?
Thank you, Nema. Good afternoon, Nema. Good afternoon to all the team that is watching us. As you know, Angola, it's how can I say? It's a baby doing PR in Africa, but we are not outside that what's happening in another market. So regarding our situation, our story also, the secret that we use with my client during the PR activity is advise the client that first of all, we have to build relationship and authentic relations between the governments and the community. I have one case study in my presentation, then I can share with the audience, but the most important thing is relationship stronger and authenticity, because the public relation is not only focused on the news, on the newspaper and have a good networking. It's more than this, because we are waiting the results after the action that we're gonna implement in the market. So as agency, as someone expert in the market, this is the secret that we use to use the clients and the partners also.
Okay, trust and authenticity, that's really, really great advice right there. Over to Mabel. Mabel, Nigeria. You cannot talk about Africa and not at least acknowledge Nigeria for all the good and, some not so good. Nigeria is interesting because it plays an important role in shaping how Africa is experienced from people who are outside of the continent and non-Africans. And it's also very significant because it has been an important trend setter for other Africans. You know, we all know, you know, the story of Bring Back Our Girls, and a campaign that happened in Nigeria and blew over and became, you know, sort of the poster child of, you know, the girl child movement. We also know about Burna Boy, you know, who recently won an Emmy and has now been acknowledged for changing how the music industry operates across the world, in Europe, in the US, and even in Asia. We also, you know, we've got quite a number of groundbreaking stories we can talk about Nigeria. But on the other lens, we also have some not so positive stories, you know, and some of them are, you know, stereotypes that are founded on some truth, some are completely bogus. So with your tremendous experience, Mabel, in PR and branding, what do you see as some challenges to national branding that Nigeria still needs to overcome to sustain the positive momentum that seems to be taking traction and even spreading across the continent? You know, everyone knows that Nigerians are very proud of their country, and, you know, they're also leading the movement of diasporans going back to their countries and building the continent. How do we sustain that? What are the challenges that are setting Nigeria back in this positive trend?
Thank you, Nima. Good afternoon, everyone. Building a brand, building a national brand, it's something that needs a collective effort, not just from the practitioners alone. And it goes beyond running a national campaign to build the perception that you want for a country as big, as diverse as Nigeria. But I think to have a proper branding for the country, to have the perception that we want, we need to look at it from 5 areas. One is governance. We need to be realistic. We need governance to be truthful. We need governance to be of good quality in the country, so that we can create that perception that we want in this market. Another area that I look at is the culture. We need to be flexible. Nigeria as a country, we need to be flexible in some of the things that we practice across the cultures that we have in the country. Another thing for me is tourism. When we were having some calls recently, we're talking about what will interest you to come into this market. It is a big market. It is a market full of opportunities, but we need to build more in terms of tourism here so that we can attract and give that perception that we want for the country. Another thing is, I believe we need to do more of exporting to grow the country economically, not just about importing. So we want to create that perception. We want to create the growth that we want for the country. We need to do more of exporting than just importing all the time. Sometimes I look at the things that we import here and I ask myself, what kind of brand are we building? So it goes beyond the practitioners just turning out the ideas, the strategies. We need to reduce our exporting. Another thing, again, now more than ever, is security. You made mention of some examples while you were sharing the question. It's not something that is easy now. So I feel that for me is top on the list. We need to work on on the security level in the country. I mean, across the state, the country has about 36 states. So we need security to be something that people you can live, you can sleep anytime, you can walk around. We need that perception to be corrected. I feel that if we have all of these 5 areas covered, governance, tourism, security, reducing our exporting and our culture, we would create that perception that we want for the brand.
Fantastic lessons there. I think you bring some important points on the role of PR beyond, just our day-to-day jobs to the impact that we actually have in the countries you operate, to influence security. And it's something to think about, how we can do more or even work in those sectors that really need our expertise. So I think the audience are welcome to start sending questions. I don't know if you're already receiving questions on both YouTube and this platform. Then we will have a section of questions and answers afterwards. But for now, we're going to go back to Sami, who's going to make a short presentation on the landscape, the PR landscape in Ghana. And yes, and then we will, after the presentations, all the presentations, then we'll open for question and answers. Over to you, Samuel.
Thank you very much, Nema, and thanks everyone again. I'll do this real quick so that we can manage the time. Now, doing PR in Ghana, let me first start off by telling you a little bit about my country, Ghana. So we are approximately a nation of about 32 million people, and that's the population size of Ghana. And we have 16 dynamic regions across the country. They are similar in a lot of ways, but there are also a lot of differences. Now, I pride myself when I say, and I don't know what this means to anybody, but Ghana is located right in the center of the earth. So the Greenwich Meridian passes through a place called Tema. So if you take the globe and you slice it into two, right at the center, there is Ghana. Very beautiful. Now we are the leading producer of gold in Africa. So in 2020, we overtook South Africa. And like Nema pointed out, as we talk now, well, the world is not, the global economy is not doing so well, but gold thrives in moments of uncertainty. So when you hear Ukraine and you hear COVID and people are not sure of what happens next, they invest in gold. So the sector is doing pretty well at the moment. We are the second leading producer of cocoa after Cote d'Ivoire. And so is one sector that if you're a PR person and you are looking at entering into agriculture PR, cocoa is, a mainstay right here in Ghana. And, you might have heard about the Ghana chocolate, very delicious. Official language in Ghana is English. So we work and practice in English. Unlike our colleagues in the Anglophone, so for instance, I deal with people across the continent and some of my PR colleagues in Cote d'Ivoire, almost everybody is able to speak some aspect of English, but in Ghana, it is not the same. So there's a growing awareness among the PR publics that it's important for all of us to also begin to consciously study French. And so if you're a PR agency and you're a French agency and you're looking at probably supporting a company that wants to move from Ghana and into another Anglophone country, yeah, I guess there is an opportunity right here for you. We also produce oil, and since 2010, we discovered oil in commercial quantities. And so this is just in a snapshot, something little about the country Ghana. Now, for us who practice PR, these are some of the major places that people work or destinations for PR in Ghana. So the extractive industry, oil and gas. Previously, if you go to other places in the world, something like mining is done in places like deserts and other places where you don't have communities. But in Africa and specifically in Ghana, mining companies and even for oil and gas, operations are located right in the middle of people. So over the years, there's been an increasing demand to change perceptions and build reputations and, be involved in discourse such as resource nationalization and so on. So extractive industry is beginning to, or has seen the relevance of communications, and they are all having, functions that support directly their operations. Civil society is one other area. All these think tanks and so on is another place. In telecommunication, there are three major giants, MTN, Vodafone, Airtel, Tigo. All these places we have a lot of communications people working over there. In banking, there are about 23 major commercial banks right here in Ghana. Communication and PR plays a very central role, of course, in marketing in their operations. And then the FMCGs, most of which are multinationals like the Nestle's and the beverage companies like Guinness and so on. There are communications people working there. Then government agencies. So you take every government ministry in Ghana has a PR agency or has a PR department, and they all have PROs who speak on behalf of their organization. So it employs a very significant portion of our PR practitioners. Now, having said this, let me then move out and speak briefly about these little facts and figures or relevant information that if you want to know how you operate, it will help you. Ghana has a very, very vibrant media. For a nation of 32 million, we have over 684 radio stations and about 128 TV stations across the country. And this from data from the National Communications Authority. Now, it's interesting to note that you may think about digitalization and PR and everything moving online, but a very significant portion of Ghana's population still relies on traditional media, especially radio. And so if you're a PR practitioner here and you jump online, you may perhaps be dealing with, the three main cities of Accra, Takoradi, and probably Kumasi. But for a very big, chunk of our population, in the semi-urban and rural areas, they rely a lot on traditional media. Then media influences shape perceptions a lot. You can have people believing in something because a certain radio or television or a print personality says that. And so for a PR person, it's important to cultivate some of those relevant relationships and be able to influence perceptions of the influencers to also direct the market. So that's just something brief on our media. Now, this is relevant PR info. There are recognized professional bodies and training institutions in Ghana. Leading us is the Ghana Institute of Public Relations Ghana, which has about 1,000, practitioners. We have about 1,000 practitioners, and half of that are registered members, of which half of that is, members in good standing. Now, there is a growing representation of PR leaders in C-suite positions. Okay, so I spoke about mining. For example, my boss that I used to work with is a communications person now, having the position of vice president in a global multinational, and it cuts across. You go to some of the banks and the telecommunication agencies, and so in Ghana, we have moved from 1991, where PR was not seen as a profession, to a position where increasingly PR practitioners are having a seat at the table. It's still work in progress, but that is also something that's happening. Speak about a PR bill to also regulate the practitioners and their practice. It's currently in Parliament at a consultation stage. No more time to talk about that, but yes, that is how serious we are taking it. A majority of PR practitioners in this country are generalists. So we don't have a lot of specialized PR people, but it's gaining root gradually. We have people in fashion PR, we have people in food PR, but I see gray areas and opportunities in areas like, sports PR, even entertainment. Most of the entertainers and the sports people rely on bloggers. But a lot of the times you realize that you don't have that strategic thinking and planning that a PR brings into the brand building and the reputation of these either individuals or institutions. So there are vast opportunities for specialized people in PR here in Ghana. Now, when it comes to agencies, we have a number of great agencies, but the wide perception about agencies in Ghana is the fact that they are acknowledged as the best grounds for career development. And so for most of the practitioners across some of these sectors that I'm talking about, we have agencies like Stratcom and Global Media Alliance that have groomed people who are doing well in other agencies. So typically, agencies have that recognition. The mining and the extractive sectors, the oil and gas sectors, are seen like it is anywhere else as the best paid sector for PR practitioners and other practitioners around in the country. Now let's talk about social media. Nema, are we doing good with time? So
I have 2 minutes.
Whoa. So on social media here in Ghana, the influence is we are having a growing influence in social media. And so about 27.4% of our total population are very active on social media. And this is according to, data from Hootsuite about the digital presence in Ghana. WhatsApp is the leading social media platform, meaning that if you are a corporate organization practicing in Ghana, you definitely need to have a strategy on how to use WhatsApp to influence perceptions and build influence. So now, you know, of this research that recently came, when people were asked, why are they on social media in Ghana? They said they wanted to connect with family and friends. And so families are beginning to become influencers in themselves. And so if you're able to build a strategy around WhatsApp that influences family, they also begin to share your content. It's a must-have for every corporate organization, you know, to have a social media presence. I am in mining. In 2017, when we went online, my company, we were the first very active mining company online. Right now, every other mining company is there. Agenda setting has moved from traditional to social media. When you hear that it's a breaking story, it's likely that it started on social media. So my time is up, but some of the must knows. In Ghana, if you are practicing here, you must be conscious of the cultural nuances. If you are practicing in a rural area, for example, you have to know you can't go to a stakeholder and greet with your left hand, for example. There are all these nuances are littered. We can talk about this during the Q&As. Ghana's vibrant media, you need to know how it operates because it can make or unmake your brand in a second. People are very vociferous and they talk and share their opinions. Be prepared to earn your relevance because you will not get the kind of recognition, let's say, an engineer will automatically get. And so to get a seat at the table and to be given that recognition, you need a lot to prove of yourself and the value that you bring. You have to be decorous in your involvement in political discourse because, you see, just like it is in most other African countries, politicians can be interesting. And if you are not careful, it comes down to harm your brand. There are workplace culture and other things that you must understand. Depending on whether your company is listed or is a quasi-government institution, your positioning, even as an individual, has to be very, very strategic. Otherwise, it comes down to bite you. So in a nutshell, this is a very brief outlook of how PR is practiced right here in Ghana. But for Mabel and for all our friends from Nigeria on this call, no matter who you are, no matter where you are from, you must eat Ghana jollof. It's the best in the world. Thank you, Nima, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sami. We are not doing too badly in time. So what I will encourage our audience to do is type out your questions on the Q&A section. And then for speakers, just in case we don't have enough time to answer the questions verbally, please go and note the questions that have been addressed to you and type out your answers. Carolina, you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Can you?
Yes, it's good.
So thank you so much, Africa Communication Week, for this opportunity, and NEMA for your support during these days preparing the presentation. So as my presentation say, my name is Carolina Barros. I'm PR and marketing consulting based in Angola. So talking about the service we provide, On Time is in the market since 2011. We are a small team, but all professionals of communication in the market. Our mission is to offer a quality service and having the customer needs as our focus. Becoming a reference agency in the market, also Angola market, of course, outside of the Angola, we are talking about the African market, is our vision for the company. The strategy that we use to work with the companies is we work for brands and the companies to create a relationship between the social media and create impact in the lives of persons. Talking about our market, the PR activity, as I said in the beginning, in Angola is something new. So we are in the good way. I used to say we are in the good way because we have a lot of inputs that come from the agencies abroad, and Expire has to create also our own business. The same guy that I had, because I used to work in the past for the other agency, then as someone that know the market, I decided to create also my own company, create my own stuff. But right now, regarding one information that we had from the Minister of the Communication, is the Department of Government that regulates the communication in the advertising company. We have around 23 agencies. But back in time, when we are talking about the people to employees, sometimes this is the big challenge for the companies because we don't have one specific training course or professional degree to PR. We have 4 Angolan universities, they teach in marketing and communication. So as I said, PR is something where people have to learning outside in the workshops, the specific trainings, where we can train the people and then they can provide us the service. The good things is they know the markets, they know the media, and they also have a contact. So we give them the inputs to provide a very, very good PR service. Regarding also the legislation, we have now, as you know, I don't know if you don't know, but it's a new government and we have some fusions between the institutions. We have the Ministry of Telecommunication Technology and Social Communication. Is the legal part, the government part is the one that gives the license for the agencies also. Unfortunately, there is no specific license for the PR activity. We, as a PR professional, we are inside of the advertising legislation. So they have a small thing talking about the PR, but it's okay. The same side, the other side, we have the NGOs. They are associations that work in defense of the communication in the PR activity in the market about the regulation. It's true also that we don't need a specific regulation, but it's true, we are trying to convince people, or maybe we are trying to educate people that we are not advertising companies. Even me also, we don't do advertising. We do communication, we do PR, but we don't do advertising. When the client needs a specific advertising, outdoors, media buying, billboards, they go to advertising companies. So we have AAPM, Angolan, Associação Angolana de Publicidade e Marketing, Angolan Marketing Association. We have also the AAPCA, is the Angolan Association of Communication. Also, there's the 2 strong ones also, and we also make part of 2 of them. Who is the type of client that they used to use the PR service? As I say, most of the companies in the brand, of course, when they came to invest in Angola, they find these big issues. What I'm trying to say is, okay, I want to have exposition on the media, but unfortunately the market doesn't have in the past specific agencies for the public relations. So this create opportunity for them. They came with their own agencies, of course, or their own PR person, and they start to operate in the market. But the good thing also was they contract some journalists. I hear my colleagues say before that to be a PR, you have to know the market, you have to know the communication. But here in Angola, the people think, but it's normal, you have to have journalists. You don't need necessary to be a journalist to be a good PR, but it's a good way also. So they start to contract to hire some journalists to try to do the PR service, mainly focus on the media relations, press releases, organize some interviews also. But right now, after more than 10 years, this panoramic already changed. And also 70% of the agencies that are operating in Angola, they are not 100% Angolan agency. This is good because show us that the market have opportunity, and we as a national, we have also another business, sector business to invest. So when we start our presentation, Nema share a question within us. What is the secret to invest in one country where they had a lot of year of war also? And with the challenge.
Sorry,
Yes?
Carolina, you only have 3.5 minutes, please. Hurry up.
Okay, I would like to share a story because, as my colleagues say, sharing stories is good for the narrative, also for helping the brands to position in the market. Well, in 2014, we launched the school health program for one brand that the focus was to teaching the kids how important it is to washing the hands and washing the teeth. So the schools, we went to the public schools, but the public schools belong to the government. So we called the government for this project, and then we made a stronger partnership. We achieved 3 provinces. Of course, we started before with the narrative, teaching the kids, the kids know, sharing story with the media about the main disease if the kids doesn't have a good habit to wash the hands, to brush the teeth, before we start to make some reporters, news, short news, and all this thing. And then we went to schools. Also, we invited the media. Also, we invited the Minister of Health, with the Minister of Education, because they are partners of the project. The project running for around 3 years in Angola market, and we had a very, very good result. This is the impact of the PR in the government side. So 2019, this is not something new for me. The world sees about the COVID-19, and the market changed, the communication sector changed. Most of the company make a cuts in the marketing and the communication, and most of the PR agency lost clients and also have to fire people. But at the same time, we have to reinvent our way to work. So we went to the digital to see where we have to put the clients. Which platform they are running more? Which platform give us more openness to put the brands? So I'm putting here the main platform that works in Angola. The Instagram is the top one. So we went to Instagram, we created a stories, we share stories, we create a news also. We went to Facebook, the same strategy, YouTube, the same strategy. This is one of the reasons we are here in YouTube and Zoom also. We went to WhatsApp because at that time we couldn't be face-to-face with the client, face-to-face with the media, but we could change story to say, hi, we are here, we didn't forget one each other, we're still alive, the brand still do A, B, C, D. Why I'm showing the social media? Because we don't have a lot of communication channels in Angola, like in Ghana. Ghana, they have a lot of, but we don't have. But we are trying to use all the platforms, the formal, the traditional, the digital, to create the narrative, to increase the relationship with the brands, with the clients and the people also, and to show, also, how can I say, and to show how the brands are helping the lives, and also, of course, in helping the brands to increase the sales, helping the brands to go far what they can also go. So this is my contact. I'm here. Any questions? I'm available. Thank you, Nema.
Thank you very much. All the presentations will be shared with all the participants. And speakers, please engage the questions that are on Q&A. So last but not least, we'll have Mabel. Mabel, your 10 minutes start now.
Thank you. Thank you, Nima. My name is Mabel Aditaye. I'm currently the head of corporate comms, PR and digital at TVC Communications. TVC Communications owns and operates 2 TV stations, 2 radio stations, Lagos and Abuja, and 1 in Akure and Lagos. I hope you can see my screen.
Not yet.
Can you see it now?
It's now come. Yes, it's now on.
Okay. So in doing PR in Nigeria, it is important that we understand the market, and I will just run you through, because I know that I have about 10 minutes for this presentation. I'll run you through this market before we delve into doing PR. Nigeria has about 36 states, and unlike other countries, age and gender doesn't really give you an idea of how to position your content or your campaign in this market. You need to understand the culture of this market. You need to understand the communication channel. You need to understand the relevant content that speaks to your target audience. You need to understand the language that we speak here, and also the politics that is being played in this market. You need to put all of that into consideration before you go into whatever PR campaign or as a practitioner coming into the market. I'll run you through the Nigeria PR industry. In this market, we have three broad areas, categories, segments, you want to call it. The first one is you have what you call in-house PR, which sometimes we call it the client side. Then you have the agencies, and then you have the freelancers. The in-house PR is you work in a brand, in a company, and then you have the PR department working there doing all the PR activities that need to be done. The PR agencies are the ones servicing this brand. And then you have freelancers who offer media services, media relations. On my slide, you can see some of the activities that are being practiced in this segment. The in-house PR will do corporate comms, will do media relations, will do CSR, will do corporate affairs, crisis management, digital comms. The agencies will do just almost the same thing that an in-house PR would do, but depending on them, the brand or the clients that they manage, which differs. And then you have the freelancer, which sometimes basically what they do is maybe you want to do media syndications, you want your content to appear in the social media platforms. That's basically what they do. And then in this market, it is important that we understand that there are three different sectors that a Nigerian PR practitioners would naturally operate. You have the public sector, you have the private sectors, you have the agencies. The public sectors are the ones with the government. So in all the government parastatals, you have a PR practitioner in the ministry. The private sectors are the companies you see here operating their businesses in the country. And then the agencies are the ones preferring the communication activities, the plan that the brands or the government will need to carry on their communication needs. Another thing that is important to note in this market is with the three segments that sectors that I've highlighted, where practitioners would naturally practice their profession, you identify them based on some titles. For instance, the public sectors, you see a public relation practitioners will be referred to as PAO, that is public affairs officer or public affairs manager, or they're referred to PRO, public relations officer. In the private sectors, the multinationals, you have the corporate affairs managers, you have corporate communications managers, corporate communications directors, you have the PR and communications directors. And this market also is growing big. Nima mentioned something when she was talking about Burna Boy. The market has really grown in entertainment. So you'll find the public relation practitioners being referred to as publicists. They are the ones who manage the PR aspect for the entertainment sector. That's what they call them in in Nigeria. As a practitioner in this market, what determines your pay range? What determines what you earn? There are three areas: your sector, your years of experience, and your responsibilities. So the sector that you operate will determine what your pay would be. Is it a private sector? Is it a public sector? Your responsibilities also. Some companies have like group of companies. Some companies are just maybe one brand. So the responsibilities that you have to carry on in the company will also determine your pay grade. Another thing that will also determine your pay grade here is your years of experience. This market has really grown. PR in this market has also really grown that you need to keep yourself with the relevant experience that you need if you really want to earn more or earn well in practicing PR here. One other thing that I would really want to mention in my presentation is journalism versus PR. before we got to this level that we had, the practitioners can boldly get briefs from clients, can really end where there's this perception around I'm a journalist, and then naturally would practice, would do PR, because the interpretation of a PR role is that it just has to do with press release, media communication. I have to put out content there. That is not what is being practiced now. If you really want to do PR in this market, you must understand 4 things. Like, your strategy must be top-notch. You must be able to proffer solutions to your brand. You must be able to proffer solutions to your clients. You must be able to proffer solutions to your own in-house company. So you naturally just don't think like the first thing I want to do is to put out a press release there. You have PR in this market has also grown, where internal communications is really, really key for us. Yeah. So your strategy on how do you communicate with your internal audience, which is also important for you to consider when you're driving your perception or your brand campaign. Another thing is you have to be proactive. You don't just respond or react to everything that you see. We are in the digital age. There's so many things coming up, springing up online every time. It's not about just being reacting to everything. You must be proactive in the kind of ideas, the strategies that you plan for your brand or your clients, so that you are relevant anytime, any day in the market. Another thing is crisis management. I mentioned that when we were speaking about the perception that you want to create in Nigeria. There's a lot of, we have crises coming up like every time. So if your brand operates here, you must be able to manage crisis. Another thing again is PR in this market has grown beyond just the content, the strategy. You must be able to build partnerships. You must look for partnership opportunities that are relevant to your brand. You must look for conferences that your brand can associate with. You must look for companies that your brand can build brand association with. In a nutshell, what I'm trying to say here is public relations is not just that if you're doing journalism or you are a media person, you can practice it. You must have the right experience. You must have the right learnings and the trainings across all of the areas that are into public relations, so that you are able to practice and do well. Now we are in the, how many minutes do I have more? 2
minutes to wrap up.
Wow.
Please.
Now we are in the digital age. Bloggers, social media influencers, as they stole the show. Content are now everywhere. People can see the content as you're trying to still think of what print media I need to use, but it's everywhere. So social media is really driving the conversation every day. Public and private sectors now, they are forced to use social media platforms. Even the public sectors that naturally what they would do will be press releases, put it in the print media. Now you see them with their presence on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook, depending on the target audience. Print readership has really, really declined in this market, because right now people can access the e-copies of the stories online. They can access it on your website. They can access it on the YouTube channel, even TV. People, there are countless of channels on YouTube that people can watch. My company, CVC Communication, you can stream live. You can watch CVC on YouTube 247. Then also another thing, again, social media is ruling the world here. Is ruling the world. I use them NSAS as an example in my my presentation. I'm sure some of us heard about NSAS when it happened. It was everywhere. It took over the show. People were just, how do we respond here? Even private sectors were really careful on the kind of campaigns that they churn out, so that it doesn't bring crisis at the end of the day. Then what are the do's in this PR, in this market? The first thing is you must understand that PR has grown into internal communication. You must understand your internal audience and must be able to communicate with them. Your media strategy has grown beyond just writing press releases. You must be able to do your research. Then you must be able to target your audience. Do not create PR campaigns that are not relevant. They must be relevant to the happenings right now. Journalism doesn't do PR alone. You must be able to do crisis management, CSR, brand management, stakeholder management, digital media communications, and marketing. What are the don'ts in this market? Media relations, don't follow up with multiple contacts. I started that when I started my PR career. I just want the content to be everywhere. So in one media house, I will send to editor A, editor B, editor C. No, you must just send to one person and then you follow through. Don't be quick to jump on trends. If you're just too quick to jump on trend, it can lead to crisis for you. Hence, you must understand and do your research before you jump on trend. And don't neglect social media. Social media is very powerful in this market. Don't ignore the mood of the consumers. Don't ignore their vibe. Don't ignore what interests them. Focus purely on the channel that is related to what you want to do. Overall, your communication in this market must be strategic. You must have planning. The process must be right. Your execution must be top-notch. And then your reporting is very key because you want to know how you're doing. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, Mabel. Thank you, Carolina and Sami. Thank you. We have such an engaging audience. Thank you so much. I'd like to now hand over to Samantha to close the session for us and make an announcement. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Nima, and thank you to all of our participants and on our panelists. It's been a great session. We've only had the chance to scratch the surface, really, of some really fascinating topics. But thank you, everyone. I mean, the announcements I would like to make on behalf of CIPR is that we do have a discounted membership offer, which is going to be running until the 30th of June. We are going to be offering a £30 discount on the categories of member, associate, and affiliate. So do contact me if you're interested in joining CIPR and taking advantage of the offer. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and we hope to see you again on another Doing PR in series webinar very soon. Thank you, and thanks to ACW. It's been great. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Samantha. Bye-bye.